Okay, good morning, everybody. Um, the respected principal of IB Chevan Pharmacy College and one of my very good friend, Dr. Abubakar sir, the program coordinator, and he's also my very good friend, Professor Santosh Mogre sir, all respected faculty members of this very esteemed IB Chevan Pharmacy College, all esteemed participants across the country, and I came to know that there are some participants from Malaysia as well. So all the participants, I take this opportunity to welcome you all for this mostly like interactive session on art of drafting research project proposal. Friend, uh, in fact, as I mentioned right in the beginning also while interacting with faculty members of YBC1 College, this is going to be a wonderful opportunity for all of us to get again connected, because we were disconnected during this lockdown period since last couple of months. So you must have gone through, in fact, like since last almost 1 month, you must have seen the flooding of webinars everywhere on various topics, right from drafting of this kind of project proposal up to NAC and content based web national as well as international webinar as well. Today I will be sharing my experiences, nothing else, because as it is mentioned in the title itself, art of drafting research proposal. Yes, this is going to be an art. Drafting research proposal is going to be an art. And let me tell you, my friend, drafting any report, forget about research proposal, drafting any report is going to be an art. Although you could be a very knowledgeable person, but even though you are knowledgeable, you have all technical background, but you could be a very poor, person who is going to draft the proposal. And same thing is true for research manuscript as well. You must have seen there are very good researchers. They are very committed researchers, genuine researcher, hardworking researcher, working in the laboratory day and night. But still, few of them are not able to publish their data in the Journal of International Repute. However, on other hand, you will find many mediocre researchers. I will say mediocre, I mean to say they are not that much committed. They are not that much, dedicated, but they are good in presentation. They are good in drafting. And as a result of that, they are able to sell their data. And therefore, whatever you are doing in the laboratory, you must be able to sell that as well. And you need to have that selling skill as well. So drafting similarly, as I mentioned earlier, drafting research manuscript is a skill, is an art. Similarly, drafting research project proposal is also going to be an art. And as I mentioned, although because it will learn, you can earn and learn this art through experiences only. Only knowledge is not going to be enough. You can earn and learn this art. You can earn and learn this skill through experiences only. And therefore, to begin with, I'm going to share you one of the very, very famous story of very famous painter, the Pablo Picasso. I heard this, I read this story somewhere, and I thought this is the right context to tell you that story. Pablo Picasso, one day he was moving on the street in the city of New York, and all of a sudden he had a collision with one very smart lady. And then when he had his collision with smart lady, the lady was very surprised. He was annoyed to begin with. Later on, when she had, when she looked at the face of the very famous painter, Pablo Picasso, she was amazed, she was surprised. And she said, "Sir, you are one of the very famous painter across the globe, and I am really fortunate to meet you at this juncture. And I am very excited today that accidentally we met today. But can you, because I know you are very famous painter, can you please draw one picture for me?" And then the Pablo Picasso was very kind enough, and he said, "Okay, fine." So within 20-30 seconds, he drawn one picture and handed over to that lady and said, "Look, lady, this is picture for you. As per your request, I drawn it for you, and the cost of this picture is going to be approximately 50 lakhs." She was surprised. She said, she thought like, okay, like see that the famous painter has drawn this picture within 25 to 30 seconds, and he is claiming that the cost is going to be 50 lakhs. So she was very excited. She said, okay, thank you, sir. She went, and then she went to many shops just to confirm whether whatever the statement he has made, I mean, that famous painter has made, whether it is correct or not. And she got confirmation from almost like 30-40 shops. Every shopkeeper was ready to buy that painting for the worth rupees 50 lakh, and she got more excited. She thought like, okay, this painter has prepared this picture within 25 to 30 seconds, and I'm able to earn like 50 lakhs rupees. Let me go back to him and learn how to draw this kind of picture so that I can also start earning money. And she took a lot of plane to like search the contact details of that very famous painter, and she ran away. She went to his home, and on one fine day morning, and she said, good morning, sir, I am the same lady where like on the one of the this and the XYZ street we had a collision, and I requested you to draw a picture. You gave me that picture, and I confirmed that yes, it is worth rupees 50 lakhs. Can you please take a little bit more pen and teach me how to draw this kind of pictures, so that I can earn money, because I am poor lady. I can start earning money. That famous painter, he was listening to that lady, and very calmly and quietly he responded. He said, look lady, whatever picture I could prepare for you within the period of 25 to 30 seconds, can you imagine, it took almost 30 years for me. It took almost 30 years for me to learn these skills. It's not only because I could draw within 30 seconds, but it took almost 30 years for me to learn the skill. You see, it means, what does it mean? It means that if you really want to have that sort of expertise in any area, you need to have we need to have very, very dedicated practice, and then only you can earn that skill. Similarly, drafting of research projects also need a continuous practice. It's not only like one project drafting. If you can start drafting proposals today, I'm sure within maybe after a couple of years, maybe after 5-10 years, you will be having authority to draft this kind of research proposal. I still remember I started doing this business since 1999. So this has been almost 20 years. Since 1999, I started doing this business. And since during this last almost 20 to 21 years, I have gone through many, up and downs. I have got many success stories with me. And at the same time, I'm having many failure stories also with me. And out of those failure stories and success stories, I learned many things. So today, what I'm going to do, I'm going to share those learning experiences. Whatever I learned during these 30 years of journey, of course, like 32 years of journey, but truly speaking, as far as research is concerned, it is almost 30 years. I'm having teaching years of 32 years, but I am in research since last 30 years. And as far as the project drafting experience is concerned, it has been almost 20 to 21 years. So as I mentioned earlier, whatever I have learned during these 21 years, I'm going to share those, success as well as failure story. Okay, now, like whenever you are moving ahead, you are not going to have always success. You are going to have the test of failure as well. So I will be very happy to share those failure experiences too during this story day. This is going to be sort of storytelling, let me tell you, my friend. So this is going to be outline of my today's talk. The first of all, I'm going to touch upon various facets of drafting research project proposal. And then, of course, like most of the time, I will be spending on this particular aspect only. And then I will be telling you what are the options available, funding agencies within India and outside the India. And at the same time, whenever you are earning credentials, because whenever you are having a couple of projects with you, I'm sure you will be having wonderful research infrastructure through those projects. And at the same time, you will be having the wonderful papers in the journal of international repute. So with those credentials, you will be having a lot of opportunities across the globe. So I will be telling you some of the opportunities, because last night I gone through some important fellowships, and I thought, let me tell you the brief about that also, what kind of opportunities you will be having once you will be having this kind of credential, and then I will be summarizing. My friend, to begin with, whenever I am having face-to-face session, whenever I'm having face-to-face session, I always ask this question: what are the gossips about research project proposal? I usually ask the questions rather, because since it is not going to be face-to-face session today, I cannot ask you to respond, right? I usually ask, faculty members and teachers, those who are attending, I always ask them to tell me like what kind of speculations you have about the research project, right? Now today I have used word gossips, because I know, because gossips can be like useful, like discussion, and it can be useless discussion as well. So it is the combination of both. And what are those, some of the questions you might be having in your mind: whether PhD is mandatory for submission of research project proposal. This is one. Then whether the published research papers are prerequisite. Third could be only those teacher is going to get and funding who has linkages with funding agencies. And fourth, many teachers don't have project. This is reality also, because if you do the survey of any college, I mean around 10 to 15% teachers only are having good amount of projects with them. Teachers, the reason is, the speculation could be teachers don't have a good number of projects because they don't have encouraging environment in their institutions. So that there could be many more questions. There could be many more questions in your mind. So I thought, let me discuss these at least 4 questions to begin with, so that this would be setting proper tone for this interaction which we are going to have for coming 1.5 hours. My friend, it is true, sometimes it is true that PhD is going to be mandated, but in reality, no, absolutely not. PhD can never be mandatory for submission of research project proposal. But question is, if the published research papers are prerequisite, if you need to have a published research papers, or if you need to have a publications to your record, then how can you have a publication without PhD? This is some kind of contradiction, right? But let me tell you, my friend, you might be a teacher. You might be a teacher who must have might be working on your PhD since last 3-4 years, right? And now you might be in a position to submit your PhD thesis. And by that time, because whenever you are in the position of submission of PhD thesis, you might be having couple of publications by that time in good journals, right? So let us hope that you are working in this area. Okay, you are working somewhere in some college, you are full-time employee teacher doing PhD under FIP scheme or whatever the faculty improvement scheme your institution is providing you, and you are on the verge of submission of your PhD. By that time you have got 2-3 good publications with you, which has got wonderful societal impact as well, right? But since you don't have PhD, you might think that you will not be a candidate who can submit a proposal for funding. No, see, you can still submit proposal although you don't have PhD, but since you have got at least 2 good research paper with you in the area in which you want to submit proposal, still you can go ahead and submit research proposal, and you can have a wonderful funding as well. It means PhD can never be mandatory. Of course, published papers are going to be mandatory. Published papers are going to be prerequisite. You need to have, reason is, you can see, even if today, if you want to borrow loan from bank, they are going to see your credential, right? They are going to ask you to provide, like undertaking from your employer. Yeah, they are going to ask you to provide the salary certificates and income tax return documents and all that, because before they disburse the like funding or amount, they are going to ensure that you have got proper credential. The same thing is here also. Although this is not going to be loan, but this is going to be a sort of help, assistance in the form of money. Maybe it range from 10 lakhs to 10 crore too. So they will obviously like to ensure what kind of credential you have. So unless you have a credential, you will not be recognized, and therefore published papers are going to be prerequisite for any proposal. If you are having good number of research paper published, obviously you are the candidate most likely, like potentially candidate for getting funding for various funding agencies. Next is, only those teachers are getting funding from the funding agency who has got good amount of good linkages with the funding agency. My friend, today I'm not going to discuss here on this forum, because since we are talking online, I'm not going to refer any undue or unfair practices, right? Let us assume that everything is fair practices happening across the country. Let us presume that, right? Now, linkages, what I mean to say is, like, you need to be like, whenever you are going, like, we know most of the headquarters of most of the funding agencies, they are having their headquarters in New Delhi, right? So my earnest request and humble request to all the faculty members would be, whenever you will be visiting New Delhi, you please spare at least half day for visiting those funding agencies. You should visit the funding agency before you visit Delhi. You should see, like, who is the program officer of the respective scheme. You need to see what are the schemes available, right? You need to see who
What
is
are the
program
schemes
officer,
available, right?
and
We need to see
make it
program
sure,
officer
have,
and
hello, make it sure that you have a prior appointment of program officer, and whenever you will be visiting, like, if you have prior appointment, you can have a discussion with him. Go to him, have interaction with him, tell him, like, what kind of collaboration you have, tell him what kind of research you are doing, tell him what kind of infrastructure you are having, tell him what kind of research you are having. It means you need to tell him what kind of research credential you have. Now, what is the advantage of this? Like, once you know that, once you convey this kind of message, that program officer will come to know that in this and this XYZ institution, there is one XYZ professor who is really very genuine, hardworking, and working for the, for the benefit of country. So whenever there will be new schemes, evolving from that funding agency, he will be keeping you updated. This is the beauty. This is the beauty of having linkages. And therefore, in that sense, obviously, if you are having good linkages with the program officers, and whenever you are going to, you did not, intentionally visit the agency, the office of the agency, but whenever you will be around, that particular city, you need to go there, you need to spend for some time and have the interaction with those people, so that they will consider you as one of the potential candidate for getting funding from that funding agency. Because remember, each and every funding agency, they would also like to create success stories. They want good people to come ahead, come forward, and therefore they will always be in search of good, like, genuine professors, those who are good in research. And therefore you need to project yourself. That is very important. The last question that I have mentioned here is, many teachers don't have project. This is reality, because maybe 10 to 15% of teacher will be having, like, project in the respective institution. Teachers don't apply because they don't have encouraging environment in the institution. This is true, because there are many institutions where the teachers are not being treated respectfully. I agree, because there are many issues. They don't have, like, proper freedom. They don't allow teachers to utilize the money, and therefore many teachers, they get discouraged and demoralized, and they don't apply. But my suggestion would be, my humble suggestion again to all those teachers, please don't get demoralized, please don't go out of the track. Because you see, at the end of the day, the people are there to evaluate your performance. You see, like, after 10 years, for example, unfortunately you are in the college wherein you don't have conducive environment. Your higher authorities, they are not promoting you, they don't allow you to work, they are not providing you freedom and flexibility to work, and you got demoralized, right? What will happen after 10 years? Like, if you take your own stock, you will be frustrated again, because you will not be having any significant output with you, and then you will be blaming yourself only. And therefore, please don't get demoralized. If you are having this kind of environment in your institution, please don't get demoralized. Try to keep, like, have a faith on you, and keep on pushing, keep on knocking the doors. I'm sure your higher authority, they will have to accept your talent. If you are really talented, if you are very genuine, and if you are committed, they will come. If you are consistent enough in your efforts over the years, not over the day, over the years, I'm sure they are going to accept your talent, your commitment, and your genuineness, and I'm sure they will start accepting you. And therefore, don't get discouraged, because if you are getting discouraged, you will be having a lot of horrible time in future. Now, I'm going to ask another question again. Most of the PhD theses, most of the PhD theses are being published without quality publication. So this is my question. Most of the PhD theses, whether I will request organizer, somebody is using scratch pane on the screen. So please kindly ask those participants not to use this kind of, I will not say, notorious activity, but I don't like this. I don't know who is doing this. I'm extremely sorry for this. Kindly, I will request on the organizer to ensure that this kind of, we should not have this kind of situation again. Anyway, so whenever I will be having face-to-face session, I always, ask this question to participant. Like most of the PhD theses are being published without quality publications. Are you? Because this is what this is what I believe. So I always ask participant that whether you agree with me or not, right? But since it is not going to be face-to-face session, you are not going to be responding, and you might be responding in the chat, but I will not be able to see those chat during while delivering my lecture, right? So whenever I earlier said I'm going to share my experiences, but whenever I'm sharing my experiences, I won't be able to see the theory comments as well, right? So let us presume that you agree with me, right? If yes, if most of the PhD theses are not being published are being published without quality publications, then if you agree with me, then the question is, what are the probable reasons for that, right? What are the probable reasons? I have listed 9 probable reasons. One of the probable reason is issues in problem identification. Like most of the time, like whenever you are talking about PhD, like whenever you start your PhD, there are many students. This is what I observed as a POA chairman, because I have gone through 2 subsequent terms of BOA chairman and gone through many PhD thesis presentation and their synopsis as well. What I observed is most of the students, they are struggling with the problem identifications only. They are not being able to identify their problem properly. The second reason could be inadequate literature review, because literature review is going to play a very, very significant role. If you really want your data to be published in good journal, literature review should be like very up to date. I'm going to highlight this as well in due course of time, how literature review can be done, that we will see. Improper formulation of hypothesis, this is also true, because many students, they don't understand what is hypothesis, and then as a result of that, they are committing mistake while formulation of their hypothesis. Moreover, there is no social relevance as well, because most importantly, whenever you are doing work, your PhD thesis, whenever you are doing any research work, you need to ensure that there is some societal impact, because at the end of the PhD thesis, you must, whatever result you are going to have, that result, that outcome should be useful for some cross section of society, that we need to ensure. So that could be one of the reason. As a result of that, he will, the researcher may not be able to publish the data in good journal. Ambiguity in designing experiment, there are, I have seen this, there are many ambiguities, because whenever you are designing experiment, there are many permutation combination. If you are having ambiguity right in the beginning, you will not be able to get the result which you are expecting. You might be expecting right in the beginning. Then inadequate interpretation of data, although you have done everything, but you are not proper equipped to interpret the data. That is why whenever you are interpreting data, you need to be properly equipped. So you may not be properly equipped to interpret your data. Then improper mapping of strength of researcher with problem, that is also very, very important. You may be good in one particular area, but while selection of topic, you might have chosen altogether different area in which you don't have proper expertise. That level of expertise. So that is why I call it as a improper mapping of strength and strength of the researcher with the problem. A poor presentation of researcher, if you are really good in all 7 issues, but you are not good in presentation. So even if you are not good in presentation, you won't be able to publish your data, because presentations also need to be very, very effective. And last is credential of research scholar. That is also equally important. Whenever you are submitting manuscript for publication, the reviewer is always going to see like what are your credential. He is going to see like what kind of data you have published earlier. It may not be you, but for example, if you are PhD student, this could be your first paper, but your advisor is going to be a senior person. So there, the reviewer is going to see what kind of credential, what kind of credibility your group is having. And therefore, if you really want to publish your data in good journal, all these 9 issues are going to play a very important role. And most of the cases, those who are not able to publish their thesis, or those who are completing their PhD without quality publications, they are having one or other issues significantly, and as a result of that, they are suffering. Similarly, This is another question. Most of the project proposals are rejected due to shortcomings in quality publications. This is true because whenever you are submitting, because I have fortunately I am having experience of reviewing a proposal, research project proposal of couple of agencies, right? And I have gone through, because since last almost 10 years I'm reviewer of a couple of agency for project proposal review, and I have gone through these issues, right? Again, the same thing, like whenever reviewer is going to see your proposal, they are going to see whether the problem identification has been done properly, whether literature review is updated, whether formulation of hypothesis is proper, and society relevance is going to be very significant, because whenever you are submitting proposal, they are going to definitely see whether it has got any social relevance. So that needs to be really taken very seriously. Ambiguity in designing experiment, there also they are going to see. Obviously interpretation of data is not going to be here, because then because you will be submitting proposal, there won't be question of interpretation of data. But obviously improper mapping of strength of researcher and problem, that is going to be there, because whatever strength you have, you need to map with the the problem which you have identified. If you don't do that proper matching, again you will be struggling. Poor presentation, like whatever proposal you have drafted, if it has not been drafted properly, and even if it is drafted properly but you are not able to present it effectively, again you are going to have the problem. And credential of research scholars or principal investigator, here it is going to be principal investigator, because here the credential is going to be taken care of very very seriously. What are those credentials, that I am going to tell you later in due course of time. Now, my friend, if you really want to come out of this situation, we need to adopt, everybody. It's not only research scholar, but everybody. We need to adopt this Kaizen. And since you are from pharmacy discipline, most of you are well connected to industry, and I'm sure you must be well familiar with concept of Kaizen. But those who are not, let me very briefly tell you what this Kaizen is all about. This Kaizen is like, this is a Japanese business philosophy for continuous improvement of working practices and personal efficiency. You must have seen Japanese have started adopting this Kaizen since last many years. But in India, still this has not been adopted in academic institution. Of course, in industry sector, this has been adopted since many years, even in India too. And you must be knowing, all since you are well connected to industry, you must be knowing in industrial sectors, the boss is going to ask his colleague. Rather, there is a open competition, Kaizen competition for everybody, for all sectors, right from like lower employee to the highest employee in the industry organization, and everybody is going to be given target. Like for example, if you are producing like 100 different kind of medicine this year, so next year how many more number you are going to produce, or in terms of impact, like whatever impact you are having, what would be a like better impact of your medicine. So they are going to tell you, like they are going to give you the target, like you need to either, there should be qualitative, either there should be quantitative enhancement, or there could be qualitative enhancement. So they are going to ask you to adopt Kaizen either in terms of qualitative enhancement or quantitative enhancement, and this has made mandatory. But unfortunately, in academic institution, till date, this has not been made mandatory. But let me tell you, my friend, this is going to be very important. This is going to be very important, and therefore you can see this YY analysis, because this has been very common practice in industry, that YY analysis they are doing regularly, and that is why they are very successful. They are earning money. But in academic organization, we are not that much serious. So we need to do this YY analysis. Rather, if you are a research scholar, you need to do this YY analysis once in a week. This is my advice. And even if you are professor, because I am in this field since last 32 years, but still every week I'm doing this YY analysis. What is this YY analysis all about? You can see what the current and previous studies have been done on the issues to be studied. It means like whatever project proposal you would like to submit, you need to see what is the current status and what kind of previous studies have been done in this particular on this particular topic. What is the available information on the magnitude, nature, and classes of the problem. Like whatever problem you identified, you need to see like what kind of information available. What is the magnitude of the information? What is the nature of the information? What are the classes of information that you need to classify? And then what are the present gaps in knowledge? Because identification of gap is going to be very crucial. because once you identify gap, I'm sure you will be able to bridge the gaps, right? And therefore you need to see like what are the present gaps in knowledge as far as with reference to your topic of investigation. And then what makes the problem worth studying, that is also very important. Like why, like what you are going to do differently so that it becomes like this problem can be worth studying. And then why, if at all this problem has not been tackled so far, you need to see, you need not be excited, you should not be excited. Like sometimes what happens whenever we do literature review, and whenever you come to know that okay, so far this topic, whatever topic you have identified, let us say you identified one topic and you came to know through literature review that so far nobody have worked, nobody is working on this, and so far nobody have produced data in this area. So you need to see like why has the problem not been tackled yet, why that problem has not been identified, why that problem not been investigated till that you need to ensure. Otherwise it may happen that that is the topic which you have undertaken may not be appropriate, because there might be some issues in the topic as well. That is why people have not addressed that. So you need to see like why that problem has not been tackled it, and what do you intended to do to fill the gaps to solve the problem or solve the problem. It means like what exactly your strategic planning would be to bridge the gap to solve the problem. So if you could do this viva analysis, I would say whenever, if you really want to submit your proposal, before submission of proposal, once the problem identification has been done, you need to go through this viva analysis first and see like what are the issues. And then I'm going to tell you very important essentials and in research, like why I'm telling this, because you need to go through this whenever during each and every exercise, because drafting proposal is going to be one of the exercise, you see, right? So whenever you are doing any exercise, you need to go through these essentials and dispensables as far as research is concerned. What are those essentials? Let me tell you. The very first essential is you need to have a smart hypothesis. And I know, because since many of you might be very experienced teachers, and those who are not experienced, those who are very young, for them I have written like S means specific, M is measurable, A means achievable, R means realistic, and T means timely. It means whatever hypothesis you have, whatever idea you have, that idea should be very specific, it should be measurable, it should be achievable, it should be realistic, and it should be timely as well. So now before we come to hypothesis can be formulated only if you are having very good or up-to-date literature review. I'm going to tell you more about literature review in next slide, right? So let us say like you have gone through very rigorous literature review, and as a result of that, because what for literature review is going to be done, because usually we do literature review to identify the gaps, right? So we need to do like we need to see the international level and similarly at national level as well, like what is happening within the country and what is happening across the globe, right? And as a result of that, you will come to know what are the issues, right? And once you identify the issues, and then you can make a statement that whatever issues you have identified, whether you are having enough credential, whether you are having adequate expertise to address those issues. That is why I said the mapping is very important. Mapping is very important. So once you do that, once you have done that, the next process would be like you can formulate your hypothesis, right? Now hypothesis means what? It is some sort of expectation, right? Like some sort of assumption, but this is going to be a very technical assumption, rather based on some technical data, some technical you are going to have some technical base for assuming something, for presuming something. So at the end of the work, you will be expecting to achieve something, right? This is what your hypothesis is going to be. So hypothesis called yes can be a single hypothesis. It can be, you may have a couple of hypotheses as well, because there should be always plan A and plan B. That is also I'm going to tell you later, right? So once you have formulated hypothesis, and then at the end of hypothesis, you will be formulating objectives and methodology, because unless you formulate hypothesis, you won't be able to formulate the objectives. Okay, and once you formulate your objectives, there will be like methodology. Now after that, you will start working in the laboratory. But question is, if you don't have proper resources, right? Resources and investment is going to be very important. Investment in terms of time, and resources in terms of technical resources, right? So it's technical infrastructure. So if you don't have proper resources, and if you are not committed yourself, invest time, then this is very, you are going to have horrible time. That is why I said these are essentials. Like, you need to have proper resources, and you must be committed yourself to invest time as well. And then it's not only that, you need to have proper guidance as well. If you're PhD student, you need to have proper guidance. Yeah. And if you're submitting proposal, you need to have proper guidance, because on your own you could be a knowledgeable person, but you need to have a adequate guidance, appropriate guidance, like what is to be included, what is to be incorporated, what not to be incorporated. That need to be properly like handled. And therefore you should have somebody, we need to have some mentor. And let me tell you, my friend, we should have mentor throughout our life. There should be some person who is going to be our mentor. Today also I do have a couple of teachers. I always seek their guidance always. Okay, because they have been my mentors since my childhood, rather say. So there are people I always identify some people that I will be always getting some guidance. So throughout our life we need to have somebody helping us, somebody guiding us. So proper guidance is very important. Fine, you have proper resources, investment of time, you have proper guidance, but you are not consistent, you are not sincere. So your sincerity and consistency is going to be very important. You are very sincere, like every day you are going, every day you are visiting lab, every day physically you are present, but you are not consistent enough in doing experiment. That is also equally important. So consistency in doing experiment, that is also equally important. Consistency in thought process, that is also equally important. If you really want to, these are some of the essential, like you need to be sincere, as well as you need to be enough consistency. And last one is patience, because in research you are not enough patience full. You see, even if you are research scholar, you need to be more patientful. But even if you are professor, still you need to have a lot of patience, because you might be working in an environment where you don't have encouraging environment. Your seniors are not encouraging you, or your employers are not encouraging you. So you need to be very patientful. You need to have a patience, right? You need to keep on waiting. Don't be frustrated quickly, because if you are having adequate patience, I'm sure the day will come, and then you will be accepted everywhere. So these are some of the essentials. Whenever you are doing any project, whenever you are undertaking any work, you need to go through this. So these are some of the essential for everybody. And what are the dispensable? Avoiding library visit, plagiarism, avoiding logbook entries. This is, I'm not going to spend much time, because because nowadays many of us don't visit the library, because we believe that nowadays, because of this net and all that, everything is available on tip of our finger. This is true on one hand, but let me tell you, my friend, there are many references in the library, old references, they are not digitized. Still, those references are not in digital form. Those are always there in the library in hardbound copies. So we need to very frequently visit the library to see that. That is also equally important. Plagiarism, because nowadays everything is available. There are many cases where the students are committing plagiarism. Forget about student, but senior teachers are also committed unknowingly. They are committing plagiarism, because you need to know, you need to understand what is the plagiarism policy of regulatory authority, and you need to keep yourself isolated. And avoiding logbook entries, this has been one of the very bad practices, because most of the teachers and most of the students also then don't keep a record of what they are doing. Let me tell you, my friend, these records of laboratories, whatever you are doing on day-to-day basis, can save you from the court, from the plagiarism also. There are many cases where the people were claiming that Mr. XYZ was have committed plagiarism, but logbook entries have saved them in the court of law. So there are many entries, because there are many stories, but I should not waste the time telling stories only. Okay. And so therefore, what we need to do whenever you are drafting proposal, how the ideation should take place. Whenever you are drafting proposal, this is how the ideation should take place, right? So first of all, you need to keep your all senses open. This is, I can understand. You may criticize me that, okay, why you are telling all these things, because we know, but let me tell you, this is going to be very, very important. Although we are well aware of this, but we don't follow this. right? So whenever you are, whenever you want to submit proposal, you need to start from this also. Like you need to start, observing the things, like what are the issues. Observing things means what? Like uh, 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 like what kind of issues which are there around you, related to your area of expertise, related to the topic which you are going to deal with. So keep on observing. You need to be very keen observer. And then once you observe that, once you read, once you do the proper literature review, basic literature, you will be able to formulate your hypothesis from your keen observation. And once the hypothesis is formulated, next step would be you will be designing your objectives, methodology, and exactly the experimental plan. And then you will be going ahead and doing the experiment. And once you do the experiment, you will get some data. And then you will be having many tools. You can use many tools to interpret the data. If you are having expected result, you will be very happy. Whenever you are having, like whenever we are working in the lab and having expected data, like we will be very happy. And we will be doing analysis and doing conclusions, sending it to the good journals, and you will be excited. But unfortunately, if you are not getting expected result, unexpected result may lead to like something very wonderful innovation. So don't throw that unexpected data in the dustbin, because it might be like the case that today you may not be in a position to interpret the data because of the shortage of the limitation of your own knowledge. So what you need to do is, whenever you are having unexpected result, don't throw that result in the dustbin. Keep that with you. Try to have the expert opinion. You identify some better person in your area, discuss those results with him, and see whether it can come out something great out of that. And you may you that may lead to the substantial innovation, that may lead to the wonderful award in your life as well. So whenever you are having unexpected result, don't throw it away. Have the expert opinion, and then do the proper analysis and draw the conclusion. So this process should be followed by everyone. Now, this is going to be overall organization of project proposal. The first should be science. Science means what? Feasibility and time scale. Because whatever topic you will be dealing with, you need to see like whether it is feasible. Sometimes like ideation wise it is okay, concept wise is okay, but it may not be feasible within the duration of 3 years. Okay, so feasibility may be because of duration, or it may be like you may not be having access to the infrastructure. Sometimes you may be good. For example, I can quote one example. Let us say you are good in mathematics, right? You are good in simulation, right? So you want to design satellite. For example, since you are good in mathematics and simulation, I mean, computer software, you can be tempted to do this kind of research, satellite designing. But my friend, if you really want to do the satellite designing, you need to see the satellite. You need to have a frequent visit to the satellite. So if you don't have access to do this, how can you how that topic can be considered as a feasible topic? Therefore, feasibility need to be taken care of very, very right in the beginning. And time scale, whether like if you are submitting proposal for 3 years duration, you need to see like which agency you have identified. If it is like 3 years duration, whether whatever topic you identified, whether you will be able to complete that task within the 3 years stipulated duration. So science is going to be very important. Second is going to be management. Management means the personal and other resources, like what kind of manpower you are having, your own, like you said, your colleague and the student, how many, like whatever work you are proposing, how many people, how many manpower is required, whether you are going to have adequate manpower, whether you are going to have resources, adequate resources. Because every time you cannot be dependent on funding agency, because you are not going to get all the infrastructure for funding agency. You need to have some basic resources, infrastructure with you. Do you have those resources? Then what kind of linkages you are having with other groups, like, and facilities? Because sometimes what happens, there might be some very state of the art high end facility which you may need, and you may not ask that facility in your project, because you may be asking for 20 lakh, 30 lakh, 40 lakhs, right, 50 lakhs, and that facility cost of facility may be beyond 1 crore. So in that case, do you have linkages? Do you have facility, access to the facility? That management that you need to do right in the beginning. And then budget. Whenever you are proposing budget, you need to do a proper justification, like what kind of aim you have, what kind of objective you have, what is your methodology. You need to compare your objective methodology with your budget justification. Right? Sometimes what happens, you in methodology you want to do something else, and in the budget you are asking something else. So you want to do one thing, you are asking something else. So that justification and proper mapping need to be done. So these three things are going to be very important: science, management, and budget. Next is, although you are having outstanding science, right? Next is preparation with funding agency and institution, because you need to know like which funding agency you are targeted. Let us say, for example, in your project you need, like whatever topic you have identified, let us say you need an amount of 50 lakhs, right? And you are submitting project where the extreme limit is 40 lakhs, right? So it means you are doing mistake right in the beginning itself, because you are expecting 50 lakhs, you need minimum 50 lakhs, and you are approaching agency wherein their maximum limit is 40 lakhs. So it means you are doing mistake. So you need to see like what is your requirement, what are the priority areas. Moreover, the priority areas of funding agency preparation means, like, let us say every funding agency has some targeted focus areas. You need to see like whatever you want to do, whether that fit into the priority areas of that institution. If not, then why you are sending proposal? Other, because if you are not unless you fall into that targeted area, your proposal is not going to be even considered. Forget about the review, then you are wasting your time. So you need to be good in preparation with funding agency. At the same time, your own institution, like wherever you are working, you need to ensure that once you get the project, you are going to have a proper platform available. You are going to have a proper support from your institution as well, right? Next would be care in presentation. Sometimes what happens, we are very casual. Although you are good in science and your proposal is you are good in science, but you have not organized your proposal. Your proposal is badly organized. Sometimes what happens, you have organized proposal nicely, but your presentation, you are very sloppy, you are very careless, there are many spelling mistakes, you are very casual in making the presentation. Like, there should be intent. Your intent is going to be tested there, your positivity is going to be tested there. If you are not enough in like positive intent, and then if you are having casual approach while presentation, again you are going to be a failure person. Follow up is also very important. It's not only like everything, but follow up means what? Once you submit proposal, you need to see whether, because I have experience when because I am visiting DST like very frequently. I have seen whenever you go to DST nowadays, everything has changed now, because DST has started accepting proposal through online. But earlier, like some 5-6 years back, they used to accept the proposal hard copy, and I have seen those hard copies are lying in the corridor of DST. So like, of course there is no option for them as well, because there are flooding of proposals. Like the proposals are over flooded in various schemes, so therefore they have to be kept in the corridors. But what you need to do is, you need to go, like whenever you are going to, as I mentioned earlier, whenever you are visiting New Delhi, you spare some time to visit, see like what is the status of your proposal, whether it is in the proper review process or not, or whether it is lying idle. That you need to be very, very serious about. And then these are some of the basics. I'm telling you what kind of mindset you need to do, what kind of preparation, background preparation I'm telling you. First of all, you need to know you need to know your field. What is that? Is the work is fundamental in field? You need to ask this question to yourself. Does it have broader implications? Does it make use of emerging technologies? Can it be done on time and within the allocated budget, and the budget what you are asking for? Because why? Because you need to ask these questions, because whenever you will be asking this question, you will be able to get answers. So therefore you need to ask these questions as well. Okay. Then your competitions. So are many people trying to do the same thing that you need to, like, competition means like you need to see like how the competition is, how the how the tough competition you are going to have. Like, are many people trying to do the same thing that you need to see? Like, then how does your proposal is going to be different than others? Can you get there first? You need to ensure that. You need to ask this question. Your competition may review your proposal. Like, whenever you are reviewing this, it may be helpful for you to review your proposal. Then you need to know about funding agency. What are their overall funding priorities, as I mentioned earlier? How are these decided? Does your proposal fit these? because that is also very important. Like whatever the priorities they have, whether your proposal is going to be, suitable. I mean, fitting in those priorities or not. Which program is the, because there could be many programs. So which program your proposal is going to be best fitted? Coordinate with the program officer, as I mentioned earlier. Like identify the name of program officer and coordinate with those. Visit your funding agency, give the presentation. Like whenever, it's not like after presentation, after submission, before submission also you can do this. Visit there, prepare a brief presentation of your research, go there, take your laptop with you, have the presentation in front of them, so that he will be convinced that yes, you are a good person. Follow up papers and press releases as well. So these are some of the things you have to do. Then guidelines, because you need to, because I have seen many people, they are very casual, they are not sure about the dues, because they are working day and night, taking efforts in drafting proposal, and and then they will, one day they will come to know that the last date has been already crossed, right? So you need to see like what are the due dates, what are the proposal length. Like nowadays DST, most of the agencies, not only DST, they are very particular. Like for each and every question, for each and every query, you have to respond within either 500 words or 1000 words or 1500. I mean, word limit is always given. So you need to see like what is the word limit, how your feelings, how your responses to that queries could be prepared within those limited words. Required statement, what are the required statement? Budgetary constraints that you need to also understand, what are the budgetary constraints of that funding agency. Then budget, you need to be very careful about, like you need to be very accurate. Like let us say you want to buy one particular machine, like FESEM for example, okay, and the cost is around, you cannot mention around 2.5 crore. No, it should not be around, it should be very much specific, 2.45 or 2.35, whatever. So you need to be very, you need to have a budgetary quotation from the respective vendors, so that you will be able to quote exact price. Leverage funds that you need to because you need to discuss with your head of the organization what kind of leverage funds you will be requiring before submission. And of course overhead also, whether your institution, of course the overhead is mandatory, but still if you don't want, sometimes you can get rid of overhead budget as well. And then your local support, discuss with your colleague. Like whenever you are drafting proposal, your idea should be discussed with your colleague. Your proposal can be discussed with your head of the organization or principal. Coordinate with the sponsor research. Like if there is some industry sponsoring this, if you are really working on very innovative concept, you can have a industry sponsorship. See like how their proper share by whenever drafting your proposal. If you are because there should be ethical statement, you need to make ethical statement as well. There should not be conflict of interest later on whenever you will be having the function, your project sanction. So right from beginning you need to make that statement. And most importantly, roadmap for your proposal submission. Like whenever you want to start, what would be a roadmap for proposal submission? I am talking about, not proposal implementation. Proposal submission itself, you should have proper roadmap. With this background, I'm going to move ahead now. So here there are three very important aspects of drafting research project, right? What are those? First is novelty, second is social relevance and national importance, third one is credibility oblique credential of principal investigator or researcher. Now we will see one by one. Like whenever your proposal is going to be reviewed by reviewer is always going to check whether it has got some novelty, right? The reviewer is always going to check whether it has got some social relevance, and moreover they are going to see what kind of credibility the principal investigator is having. That is, how it is to be addressed. Let us discuss that. Now, as far as novelty is concerned, you need to do very rigorous literature review. Rigorous literature review can be done only when, because it's not only like bulwark. Like whenever I said rigorous, I'm not asking you to do bulwark. I'm asking you to do smart work, because you need to identify the appropriate journal of international repute, because identification of journal of international repute itself is one of the very big tasks, let me tell you. Because for example, you might be like, for example, you are working in the XYZ area, and you have chosen one journal whose Scopus index, which is Scopus index, Web of Science index, whose impact factor is more than 10. Okay, fine. So you will be excited, you will be happy. But truly speaking, you need to ensure, although that quality-wise the journal is good, but whether the research papers, whatever research paper publishing in that journal, whether those research paper belongs to your focus research area. If not, then although it has got good reputation internationally, what is going to be useful for me? And therefore we need to be very careful about identification of journal in your own focus area. So whatever journal you will be identifying, whether that journal is going to be from your own focus area. And most importantly, this is last step is going to be very important: identification of potential research groups across the globe. Why this is important, let me tell you. For example, you are very genuine researcher, you have done very rigorous literature review, right? But you have not seen like what are the potential researcher across the globe. Potential researcher means you need to identify the research group within India and outside India who are working on similar topic. Because whenever you will be going for presentation, some expert may ask you, are you aware of the group, research group who are working in this area within India? So they may ask you, okay, tell me who are the name of the group who is working in this area in India. If you are good enough, then they may ask you, okay, outside the India, how many people are working? Not people individual name, but research group, maybe from University of California, Riverside, or Boston University, or Stanford University, or something of that sort. So they might be asking you this kind of question. They may be asking you. So for that purpose, you need to be prepared. For other, even like it is going to be very important for you as well. Why? Let me tell you let me quote one example. Let us say you are a very, very good researcher, genuine, committed, you have done very rigorous literature review, and you have seen like what are the different research group working in India, and you have seen research group outside India also, but you have missed one very, very potential research group who is working in one of the University of USA, for example, MIT. Right? Somehow you could not come across their research, right? Now, what is happening? Like today, without following all the paper, except you are not, because you are not followed the papers of that papers which are being published by that particular group. As a result of that, what will happen? On the basis of research literature review, you will come to know that yes, whatever problem you identified, it has got novelty. Nobody, by that time, nobody else have were working on those area. So you were good, right? And then you start working, you started working, you got the result, you interpreted the data, you drafted the manuscript, and you sent the manuscript to the journal, right? Whenever you are sending manuscript to the journal, the same journal editor may have received or might have received the similar manuscript from the other research group which you have not taken care of, and that manuscript must be a little bit ahead of you. What does it mean? It means since that group was ahead of you, you lost the novelty. Because although when you started it was novel, when you started drafting it was novel, but when you submitted the manuscript, by that time other group which you could not somehow take the review of their work, that group have submitted the data and they were just ahead of you, and as a result of that you lost novelty. It means whatever hard work you have done during last 1 year or so, or 6 months or so, that has gone, I mean, it's a waste. And therefore, whenever you're talking about novelty, you need to be very, very meticulous in identifying research group across the globe who are working in your area. Then and then only you will be able to inculcate novelty. Otherwise, there will be question on the novelty. Next, social relevance. How the social relevance can be adopted. How the social relevance or national importance can be incorporated in your proposal. So for that purpose, you need to do this exercise. What is this? Identification of strength, area of expertise of PI. So you need to do this. Sometimes what happens, we are unaware of our own strength. NAC has made it mandatory for all of us, for all our institution, to do the SOC analysis. We do SOC analysis of our university. We do SOC analysis of our college. We do SOC analysis of our department, but we don't do SOC analysis of our own on our own. We need to do the SOC analysis of our own as well. What are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? What kind of opportunities we are going to have? What are going to be strengths we are going to have? Challenges? What are the challenges we are going to face? So identification of strength is going to be very, very important. So if you really want to incorporate social relevance, first of all, you identify strength or area of expertise, and then identification of issues pertaining to your expertise. Whatever expertise you have, you start identifying the issues, social issues around you, right? And then mapping of strength with issues. So let us say you have got 10 different strengths and you have got 20 different issues related to your area of expertise, and then you need to do the proper priority. You have to prioritize those, like once you do the mapping, you need to prioritize. Let us say you could do 5 different strength with mapping of 5 different strength with 5 different issues. Now what should be what should be your first priority? That setting of priorities is going to be very important, and then tuning of the problem with social issues. Like whatever problem you identify, see how that whatever outcome you are going to have, how that outcome can be utilized for addressing some issues of the society. Unless you do this, you should not go ahead. So this kind of exercise you need to do right in the beginning by drafting proposal. If you can do it, then only, because as I said, these 3 parameters are going to be very, very meticulously seen by the reviewer, right? And therefore you need to see this. And third one is going to be credibility of researcher. So for credibility, what you need to do, obviously identification of credibility as well as credential of PI, prior knowledge of proposed topic. This is very important. You need to ask question, what kind of prior knowledge you have about the proper topics. Previous published work in the proposed area, that is also very important. Like whatever area you are proposing, unless you have a published paper in that area, your proposal is not going to be as definitely accepted. So you need to have a the paper published, prior published work in this in the proposed area. And then where you have published that data, scopus and web of science citations. How many scopus and web of science citation you have? What kind of earlier projects you were having, because you might be having some ongoing and completed project. So that is going to be your credential. What kind of infrastructure you have developed so far, right? And the number of scopus citations for relevant papers. Like let us say you have got 10 papers, right? Out of that, 3 papers are relevant to the topic which you are submitting, right? So you need to see how many number of citations you got on those 3 papers which are going to be very much relevant to the proposed topic. So this is how these 3 things can be addressed. Like I said, novelty, social relevance, and credibility. These are going to be very, very important for every proposal. And then because whenever I said like identification of problem, you need to know like what is the best journal. I'm sure, like yesterday I had a talk with Professor Mokre, and he said most of our participants will be aware of all those things, so I'm not going to cover this. But you need to see like impact factor, high impact factor, because whenever we are talking about impact factor, they are going to take care of the last 2 year citations. That is why I said let me tell you, because they are going to see the last 2 year citations divided by the total number of articles which are published. That is going to be useful for calculating impact factor. H index is also going to be, because they are not going to ask you how many, like funding agency will not be asking you how many papers you have published. They will be asking you what is your H index, because H index will tell you. There are many people I have seen, like they have got more than 100 paper, H index is 2-3. It means out of 100 only 2 or 3 paper got 2 or 3 citations. So you should be having, like if you are having 100 paper, then at least your H index should be around 20 to 30 if you are having 100 papers. If you don't have 20 to 30 H index, in spite of having 100 number of papers, it means there is a serious question on your productivity and impact and quality particularly. And then these are list of databases, because usually I prepare this, but since I presume that you all are well aware, so I'm going to skip this. And Scopus also, because you know what the Scopus is, all this multidisciplinary citation database, and it has got book series, journals, state journals. Similarly, web science is a little bit tougher than Scopus, because if you see the citations from web science, like Scopus, if you compare the citations of Scopus with that of web science numbers are going to be less. It means because web of science, they are not going to consider the conferences. Whereas Scopus are going to consider the citation from conferences as well. ResearchGate is another, social platform, social networking platform. Of course, research score, RG score, should not be mistaken for academic reputation of any academic research scholar, because if you are very active on, ResearchGate, then only your RG score will be good. Although your your publication record is good, but if you are not very active, then the RG score will be less. So nobody is going to take care of consider RG score as academic reputation, that you need to know. So that I thought, let me put it. Similarly, Google Scholar, if you don't have anything else, if you don't have Google, I mean Scopus citations, if you don't have Web of Science citation, at least you have a account on Google and have Google Scholar citations, so that at least you will have some sort of recognition. This is very important. Like whenever you are selecting journals, I would request you to see these 4 parameters, right? Site score, like impact factor take care of citations from last 2 years, whereas site score of any journal take care of the citation of last 3 years. So it is like broader, I mean it is a bigger, the factor, right? So site score should be better. Then 5-year impact factor is not only 1 year. 5-year impact factor, you can see like what kind of 5-year impact factor the journal is having. Simago journal rank, this is HJR, this is also very important. That's why I said that you should check all these 4 parameters. Simago journal rank always indication of, it's not only how many numbers you have got, who are referring your journals, which journals are citing your references, that is also equally important. So HJR is going to take care of that, and SNP is going to take care of this is going to be a source normalized impact factor. That means it's not only total article, but it's going to be considered individual article, because we know there are some journal in which some articles may have wonderful number of citations, good number of citations, but some articles may not be having a good number of citations. So it will take average of that, it will normalize that, right? As a result of that, SNP is going to be less than impact factor, and therefore whenever you are choosing journal for publication, I would advise you to check these 4 parameters of any journal, and whenever you find that these 4 parameters are, as per your expectation, then only you should choose that journal for the publication. And this is what we should do to begin with. We should do, background for preparation of research project, need-based assessment. You need to do problem identification, articulation, justification, objective, purpose, limitations, hypothesis, concept, right? Theoretical reviews, and then a review of your previous work. And then method of study, like you need to understand like what kind of study you are going to do, what would be your experimental design, which instruments you are going to use, and then analysis, which tools are you will be using for your data analysis, what are the type of data you will be having, right? That you need to, you need to get ready with this. And then interpretation, how you are going to interpret, what are the interpretation tool you will be having, and dissemination. This is very, very important. How you are going to disseminate, what is going to be platform, who is going to be audience, what is going to be level of your dissemination of your result. All these 5 parameters should be reflected in your proposal. Unless you reflect this, because reviewer is going to see this, whether these parameters are being reflected in your proposal. Now with this background, you have to start. How to start? So like basic, then overall basic, as I mentioned, the topic ideas, the typical methodologies that you will be following. You need to identify common pitfalls, getting started and putting all it together. Generate as many questions as you can, so that you will be, your topic would be, wonderful, up-to-date topic. Moreover, you need to test. Like once your proposal is ready, you need to test whether it is clear and ambiguous. This is the criteria for good research, problem or project, right? Whether it is clear and ambiguous, you need to ask question and respond to yourself, whether it has got clarity, whether is there any ambiguity, whether it is logical and systematic, whether it is empirical, whatever variables you are having, whether they have proper relations, whatever variable you are chosen, whether they are being used for proper, intent, what is the management, whether you will be able to reach the target within stipulated time, and whether it is going to be interesting for you as well as the audience. So all these parameters need to be tested. And then this is the overall organization or research proposal. You can have a title, then the abstract or summary of proposal, background. I will be discussing each and everything in detail. Background of the proposal, hypothesis, aims and objectives, methodology, work plan, budget, ethical consideration. Because if you are having, like, for example, if your research is sponsored, then there might be some conflict of interest, right? So you might need to have the ethical consideration as well. Declaration, ethical declaration, I mean to say, what is going to be outcome and research, who are going to be beneficiaries, bibliographies or references, and if you are having annexure, you can have. So this is how the overall organization of your proposal, irrespective of funding agency, this is the overall organization of your research proposal. Now I will be going through the actual proposal, how to draft. With this background, I'm going to tell you one by one. Give me 1 second. Let us start from title of research project. Now I have the, for each I have 2 slides. One is good. Good means this is what you are supposed to do. Reject means other is reject, means you are not supposed to do that. Let us start with the good slide. What is this? Concise, the title that gives the reviewer, your title should be very much concise, that gives reviewer a general sense of what you are investigating, right? Because sometimes what happens in India, I mean, in many researchers, what they are doing, a title looks like abstract, very long, or abstract look like an introduction, and introduction look like a very big history. This is how we are following. But truly speaking, we should be very careful about writing title as well as abstract. I will be telling you abstract as well. So I have quoted 2 examples. One is general example, understanding the role of CEO for effective functioning of institution. You can see understanding the role of CEO for effective functioning of institution. This could be a wonderful good title. Or this is related to somewhere your field, the proton pump inhibitor use and the development of new ischemic heart disease in non-cardiac chest pain patients, right? So this is the good title, I would say. Now reject means you should not be having this kind of title. Too long technical of title will not gain reviewer attention. It means it should not be either too long or you should not be too short as well. You can see now example, the same you can see here, understanding the role of CEO for effective functioning of institution. Long title could be like this: determining the mechanism of selection procedure of CEO as per prevailing governmental resolution and political influence in actual appointment of CEO and other authorities of the institution and its impact on overall functioning of the institution. You can see this was the fine-tuned title. This is the complicated title. If you are having most of the, because I have gone through many review of project, many teachers are coming because we believe that everything should be mentioned in the title, because we don't want to, don't want to get rid of anything. We believe that okay, this should be there, this should be there, this should be there, everything should be in title. No, it should not be there, right? Similarly, for your area related title, proton pump inhibitor use and the development of new ischemic heart disease in non-cardiac chest pain patient, could be a long title, could be like this: comparative study of various options of proton pump inhibitor use and exploring the possibility of development of new ischemic heart disease in non-cardiac chest pain patient, the age group of 56 to 60. You can see, like, I mean, I'm not able to read this title in one stroke. This is how, I hope you must have understood now what should be the title. Referees, choose referees in your field of research. This is very important. Choose a scientist or colleague that will be objective but not to be too critical, because whenever you are submitting proposal, the funding agency will ask you to submit the referees, and you will be always excited. You see, do not choose your close collaborator, because many times what happens, we always choose, like, where whenever somebody is asking us, okay, even this is happening while submission of manuscript as well. Whenever we are submitting manuscript, we always got tempted to include name of our very good friend or very close collaborator. No, because if you are choosing close collaborator, obviously the proposal will not be, funding agency will not send that proposal to a collaborator. Do not choose competitors in your field with divergent views. You see, because that is why you need to know, like, what are the groups who are working in your area. And so you should not choose your competitor, because whenever you are, let us say there are 15 different groups working in your area, all are not going to be competitor. There could be healthy competition. Okay, but sometimes what happens, yeah, some group are adopting unfair practices to move ahead. So if you are having that kind of group you have identified, don't choose that as a part of your referees. Do not choose the top scientists in your field, since they will not be responding and will be too critical in general. Because sometimes what happens, again we are doing this kind of mistake, like whenever somebody is asking us to submit review a list of referees, we always get tempted to submit a name of very big scientist, director of the institution, national institution, or very big scientist, as if you feel that if I submit name of a very big person, like it is going to be useful for me for assessment. No, because if you are having, if you are choosing very top scientists, like very senior scientist or director who is involved in administration most of the time, what happens, he will be either very critical, or he may not be responding. Okay, and therefore you should avoid this. Then co-applicant, who could be co-applicant? This could be co-applicant means co-investigator. This could be stand if you are junior investigator with limited track record. You see, this could be stand if you yourself are junior investigator, and you are having co-investigator one of the senior faculty member in your department, because he might be having very extensive experience, very proven track record in that area. It is going to be helpful for you, right? If not if the investigator lacks specific skills, the co-applicant can bring these skills to the research project. Let us say this is going to be a collaborative proposal, right? You are from pharmacy, for example, and you need some, you want to develop some devices, right? At the end of the project you want to develop, let us say, some biosensor. So since you are good in enzyme, okay, so enzyme preparation and all that, you have chosen the topic of biosensor, but you are not good in instrumentation, right? So you don't have that skill. So what you can do, you can go ahead and have one of the professor from the department of electronics or other institution, he could be a part of your project. He could be a co-investigator, because you don't have that skill with you. So whenever you are lacking some skill, and if you are identifying some investigator who will be having that skill, it would be a sort of added advantage for you, right? Now what reject means, what you should not do. It is a weakness to add a co-applicant if they just give you a reagent. Like for example, sometimes what happens, we always tempted to use our very close friend as a co-investigator. He may not be used, he may be from different area. Let us say you are working in one same institution, his area of interest is different, your area of interest is different, but still, since you are having good relations with him, you want him to be part of your project. Is not going to be useful, because his area of expertise is altogether different. So his presence in your project is not going to be at all providing you any advantage, rather it is going to be disadvantageous. Co-applicant will do most of the project in their laboratory. Sometimes it happens like you have got senior researcher, senior professor, and you are claiming that 80% of work is being done in his laboratory and you are doing 20%. Then you are not going to be qualified for principal investigator. At least 50% should be the distribution. At least you must be able to, you should be responsible for at least 50%, more than 50% truly speaking, but at the most, at the least, it should be 50%. Budget, give detailed account of where you will be spending the money. So whatever detailed budgeting head should be given. Approximately 1/3 of the budget should go for the materials and equipment. On an average, 1/3 should go to materials and equipment that you need to take care. क्या नहीं करना चाहिए? What you should not do? Graduate student should not be used in budget support, since it is an easy target for reduction due to alternate funding sources. You see, but if you are including graduate student and if you are asking some funding for a graduate student, it is going to be straightway eliminated or removed by the funding agency, and it is going to be reduction in your budget. So don't do that, and do not justify spending all the budget on person. Sometimes what happens, even if your project is related to a kind of survey, you are having more or less more focus is on survey, but still don't spend most of the budget for hiring people. Okay, otherwise it's going to be straightway reduction by the funding agency. All other operating grants you need to declare, like what are the other, like if you are having other ongoing project, you need to declare all the operating grant, and there should be 0% overlap. 0% overlap means what? Whatever you are asking, you should not have that kind of funding, that kind of equipment again with you, right? Or you should not have, similar kind of activities proposed, which has already been proposed in different project, other earlier project, and again you are proposing here. So that kind of overlap is not going to be possible. I mean, is going to be straightway. You do not even state 25 to 50%. Sometimes what happens, we always make a statement that there is only 25% overlap. No, they want 0% overlap. They don't want at all overlapping, and therefore that need to be taken care of seriously. Now summary, non-scientific summary. Now whenever we are talking about summary, what you should do, avoid acronym, because sometimes we always get tempted to the acronym, although they are very famous, but don't have, because sometimes SWNT, single word carbon nanotube, this is very famous acronym, but still I will not advise to use the acronym. As far as possible in summary, you should not use acronym. Clearly state why this project is important, declare the social impact of this, and give it to non-research friend to read. This is very important, because whenever you are giving it to non-research friend, he will be able to tell you what are the problems in your project. Reject नहीं होना चाहिए. Using technical language is use of technical language is very not advisable in summary, because you should not go ahead and give more technical details in the summary, right? Do not use acronym even if they are even if you define them. Matlab, sometimes what happens, we usually define in the beginning and then we use acronym. Don't do this. Don't do this. This is scientific summary. That's a non-technical. This is technical summary. Now, what we have to do in the summary of research project? Give short but informative background to justify research hypothesis and objective. Clearly state the hypothesis. State the objectives and aims of the proposal. State impact, significance, and innovation of the proposal. Define acronym as much as possible. As far as possible, you don't use. Technical and condensed phrasing should not be used. No clear statement. Now overall, let me tell you what should be there in summary. In summary, there should be three responses: what you are going to do, how you are going to do, and what you are going to achieve. So there should be, in summary, there should be specifically three small paragraphs: what you will be doing, how you will be doing, and what you will be achieving. Because whenever the reviewer is going to review your process proposal, they are going to see the research summary, and then they would like to see like what researcher is going to do, how they are going to do it, and what they are going to achieve. Therefore this should be there. This is going to be order of the proposal, origin of the proposal, goal and objective, background, hypothesis, specific aims, approach, expected result, pitfalls, and alternative approaches, and significance and impact of the proposal. Let us say origin. What is origin? Here we have to provide a brief background of idea generation. Ideation. Matlab, how this idea stuck to your mind. Okay, whatever idea, whatever topic you are talking about, how this idea stuck to your mind. Then incidents or important fact or data, etc., that tempted you to think in this direction. Like what is that incidence? Like it could be like you were having interaction with one senior scientist, and all of a sudden you got that idea stuck to your mind, and you started reading, started referring papers, and then this is how you conceptualize. How did you proceed further? Once the ideation took place, how did you proceed further? Like working on proof of concept to take the decision to submit research proposal. This is what we call as conceptualization of the idea. And what is not should be there, because most of the time in origin, people always tempted to give the historical background of the topic. Technical details. So here, technical detail and historical background are not at all expected. Then goals and objectives. What should be goals? And in general, first of all, this is not specific objectives, right? Goals, right? In general, this could be a paragraph. This could be paragraph, and goals should not be in bullet form. It should be in one paragraph that you should very specifically tell like what you are going to do. And no goal or objective statement at the start of the proposal, too technical or condensed, too short or not give any, if it is too short or if it is too long or nothing objective is going to be presented. Now background. Okay, background, what should be the background? What is good background? Give the reviewer needed information to understand the objectives, structure the background to go from broad information. So you should start from broad and you should start focusing on your topic. Build up background towards answering a specific question that is unknown. That is why whenever you are doing Viva analysis is going to provide you, it will help you to start from broad beginning, and you will be able to come to this very specific problem whenever you are doing background. There should be a section within the background to discuss the preliminary data. Preliminary data means what? In background, you need to always see like you have done some preliminary work in the proposed investigation. This is very, very important, because if you don't do this, then it will be really difficult to understand what kind of credential you have, whether you will be able to do this. Therefore, whatever preliminary work you have done, you must be able to correlate that preliminary work, right? If limited preliminary data, spend time on innovation of the proposal. Like if you don't have preliminary data too much, if you are having good, then try to correlate your background with the preliminary data. If you don't have preliminary data much substantial, then try to focus on innovation. What is like innovative idea in this proposal? You can see the third point. No preliminary data generally negatively impact the proposal two ways. What are those? No indication that proposal will be feasible, because it will be very hard for reviewer to understand that it is going to be feasible, and because you are going to be expert, you are having expertise. The person who is going to review your proposal may not be having that level of expertise, right? So you need to tell like it is going to be very much feasible. And moreover, if you don't have preliminary data, there will be no indication that applicant can do the proposed work. Okay, so preliminary data will help that in two ways, that feasibility as well as your credential. I mean, you will be able to do this one. Then hypothesis, because based on this, you must be able to, properly formulate your hypothesis. Clearly state the hypothesis or number of hypotheses that will be addressed the proposal. Give a justification why this hypothesis is important to investigate. That is very important. Means hypothesis means like you need to give a statement that what you are going to achieve after completion of this. That I would appreciate, because since this is not research project, this is not research problem, this is not your pre-PhD synopsis, this is going to be a research project. Here you should talk in terms of number. Let us say in hypothesis, if I am working on, for example, SO2 sensor, I have developed sensor for detection of SO2, right? So what I need to do, I need to make a statement in hypothesis that by using this and this process, by using this and this methodology, my low detection limit would be this much, my response time would be this much, my stability of my research, this much, my sensor would be this much, response time and recovery time should be this much. I mean, in terms of number, this is what I am expecting at the end of this. And give the proper justification. You can not too long justification, but maybe one paragraph that how you are claiming this, in what way you will be able to reach the target, right? Those technical justification can be given in one paragraph. Okay, now specific aims. So there should be 5 to 6. As far as the specific aims are concerned, it should be always in bullet form, right? There should be like maximum 9 at the most. Ideally, it should be 5 to 6 specific aims. If you really want to have more than that, there should not be more than 9. Make sure controls are added, approaches taken. Like whatever like objectives you are taking about, you have to make sure that you have taken care of controls. Always give what your expected results would be. I mean, like whenever you are proposing objectives, you need to mention like what was going to be expected data. Specific aims, address innovation wherever possible. I mean, you have to do that. Like for example, if you use specific amino acid, you need to mention why only that amino acid is going to be useful. If you are using non-linear analog materials, why that analog material is going to be useful. So confirm result with multiple approaches and make at least one aim less risky as compared to other. Like if you are having 6 to 7 specific aim, one should be undoubtedly possible. Like there should not be any ambiguity, at least first. This should not be there, so I will avoid that because we are having shortage of time now. Significance. What is good? Last chance to impress the reviewer on the importance of what you are proposing. Give the sense of future direction of your research, because whenever you are talking about significance, you should give some sense of future direction of your own research. Why this is innovative? and what is going to be societal, social and national importance of this proposal to be investigated. Okay, applicant CV. This talks about applicant CV. I will not focus on this because I would like to go through the next part. Now, general thought: reviewer may not be expert in your field. Okay, make proposal accessible to them, and most important, because you never know, because you, let us say you are working, you are having very specialized, you are having expertise in the area of biosensor. The person who is going to review your proposal, he will be having a broad understanding of the topic, but he may not be having very specific expertise in the area of biosensor. So you need to you need to ensure that you are making proposal accessible to them, right? Get your proposal read by your colleague or someone in your area of research. They may find some problem that reviewer will find. It means, like, once you develop proposal, you should give it to your colleague or your senior colleague to read and ask them to identify the issues so that the issues can be identified. Now I'm going to tell you the one very specific format of DST. This is format of DST under EMR scheme of ACRB New Delhi. So I'm going to quickly go through this. You can see the proposal. This is exact, because I have submitted. This is my own proposal, which was submitted in the month of February, I guess, under EMR scheme of DST. You can see. So first of all, we have to submit name of the PI, name of the university, the technical detail, the scheme, core research grant, research area. You have to identify that. So it was, for my case, it was condensed matter physics and material science. Duration usually DST, 36 month, contact number, date of birth, nationality, and total cost. Okay. Then project summary. Next is project summary. As I mentioned earlier, in project summary there should be 3 paragraphs. Okay. One is what you will be doing. Second is how you will be doing. Third is what you will be achieving. What does it mean? It means you will be briefing like your objectives in first paragraph. You will be briefing your methodology in second paragraph, and you will be briefing your hypothesis in third paragraph. Hypothesis means expectation. So there will be 3 paragraphs for summary. Then objective should be always in bullet form. Objective should be smart, as I mentioned earlier, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. You have to ensure whatever objective you are giving, those should be very specific, should be measurable, should be achievable, should be realistic, should be timely. You need to check this and ask question to yourself. If you are unable to get positive answer, go back, change it, and should be around 6 to 9. Expected outcome of the proposal, again here it should be in bullet form. What exactly you will be achieving in the form of processes, products, prototypes, patents, publication, etc. Let's say, as I mentioned earlier, like if I'm working on SO2 sensor, then I need to make a statement that I am going to have a SO2 sensor with this and this parameters. This much response time, this much recovery time, this much load reduction limit, this much like stability and all that. So that those numbers should be mentioned in expected outcome, along with like whether you will be able to have the products, prototype, patent, publications, how many publications, how many patents. That number should be they are expecting number. Then other relevant information, like if you believe that you have got some information which is going to be very much relevant, so you can go ahead and mention this. Suitability of the proposed work in major national initiative of the government. Like for example, you can use Swachh Bharat, smart cities, make in India, digital India. So these are some of the issues. Or you can think of national education policy or some state education policy or something of that sort. Like whatever area you are, whatever the work you will be doing, you need to see like where it can be categorized in some of the initiatives of the government. Then theme of the proposed work, you need to mention that what is the theme. International research collaborator details. If you are having international collaborator, you can give their names and all those details. Details of co-PI, whatever, you can have as many co-PI as you want, provided you need to justify their role. Then other technical details. Project titles, as I mentioned, maximum 500 characters. You can see they have mentioned maximum 500 characters. Okay, name of the PI and his, I already mentioned like what should be title of project. Name of the PI and his address, name of the co-PI and his or her address. Then origin of the proposal, I mentioned how the origin should be written, right? Review of the status of research and development in the subject. This is very, very important. This is literature review. You need to take a review of international level and national level. Now, whenever you are doing this, what you need to do? You need to do a very systematic review. Like you need to refer what are the groups working. You can highlight their work, right? You can see like what are their objectives, what methodology they are using, what tools they are using for interpretation of data, how they are analyzing their data, what are their conclusions, and at the most important point, what are their pitfalls, what are the shortcomings in their investigation. And then at the end, you have to make a statement that these pitfalls, based on my own expertise about research investigations, we are going to address those shortfalls, pitfalls, and we are going to have this kind of research. So same thing should be repeated at national status as well. Then importance of proposed project in context of current status. So whatever like for example, nowadays COVID-19, this is the current problem we are facing. So if you are having like that, you need to identify what are the current issue, current problem, so you can correlate your current problem with the your problem with the context of current status. If the project is location specific, your project could be location specific, then you can highlight the reason for that as well. In work plan, you must have given objectives earlier, then methodology. Like if there are 9 objectives, then there should be 9 methodology, only 9 points. Okay, then time schedule and activities given in milestone through bar diagram. So what here you can have the tabular form as well, like each and every objectives, how many times, like 3-year project. That is why I said 9 or 6 or 9. If it is 6, of course, like for one objective you will be spending 6 months, second objective you will be spending another 6 months, third, like that. For 3 years, 6 objectives you will be comfortably working on, you will be able to get good result. Suggested plan of action for utilization of research outcome expected from the project. So whatever outcome you are expecting, how you are going to disseminate that. Okay, that plan of action you need to mention. Environmental impact assessment and risk analysis, like whatever work you are doing, if it is going to have impact on environment, you have to mention that, and how you are going to manage the risk. Okay, that you need to mention, if at all it is there. Otherwise you can mention not applicable. Then expertise, your own expertise you have to mention. Expertise available with the principal investigator in executing project. You have to write your brief biodata, not whole data, brief biodata, very much specific to the problem which is being investigated. Like whatever problem you are investigating, you need to see like what kind of credential you have to tackle the problem which you are talking about, which you are referring about, right? That you need to mention here very specifically. Summary of roles and responsibility of investigators. Like if there are 3 co-investigators, you need to mention what is going to be their role and what is going to be their responsibilities during the entire 3 years. Then key publication published by the investigator pertaining to the theme of proposed area. Like during last 5 years, whatever proposed area you have, what are the key publications that you need to mention. Bibliography, like what are the references you have used. The next is list of projects submitted, implemented by the investigator. Like details of projects submitted to various funding agency, project under implementation, project completed. It means like you can have ongoing project, you can have completed project, and you might be having submitted project. All those details should be given. Then list of facilities being extended by the parent institution for the implementation of project. Like if your parent institution having facilities which will be used for the implementation of the project, then you should write infrastructural facilities, equipment available with the institution, group, department, other institution as well. It's not only the same institution. There might be like you might be having one collaboration, and you might be using some instrument from collaborative group as well, that can be mentioned. And then name and address of the institution, and then budget. Okay, so this is the detailed budget. Like you can see, this is manpower, how much detail you will be giving later. This is the summary of the detailed budget. Like manpower, how much budget you are expecting, consumable, travel, equipment, contingency, and other cost and total, right? And you can see here, this is the detailing, right? Manpower year wise, how much you are expecting, consumable year wise, how much expecting, travel, how much you are expecting, equipment. You can see out of 80 lakh, almost 40 lakhs we are expecting on equipment. Contingency, other cost, and so on and so forth. and then you have to give the more detail like project fellow justification, right? This is project fellow, the justification, how much money for project fellow, research associate, that justification, and then why you are expecting that. Consumable, because here I'm expecting only 50% of non-recurring grant, because I'm having like many state of the art facilities with me, so I don't need that much infrastructure. Therefore, although like 2/3 budget should be focus, should be dedicated to interest non-recurring, but since we are having good amount of equipment with us, so we are expecting more budget on manpower. You can see here I am expecting one project fellow and two research associate. Then consumable, travel budget, equipment, and the details. At you can see like this is the equipment we are expecting. Your justification, how you are going to make that instrument available for others, contingency details. And if you are really expecting just overhead budget, then you can use overhead budget also. But since my project was already going beyond the limit, so I was we were not expecting any overhead budget. And then at the end, by rate of PI, detailed by rate of PI and co-PI, endorsement from the head of the institution and certificate from the head of this. This is what the format of DST project. Now, since we have already gone, we are lagging behind the time. I'm not going to discuss this UGC project, because rather if you are having questions, I will be going through that, because I should spare some time for interaction. Quickly, I will be going through this is the list of Indian research funding agencies. You can see UGC, then Ministry of Science and Technology, in which we have got DST, DPT, AICT, and many, you can see Ministry of Environment and Forest, Ministry of Food Processing, Ministry of Electronics, Electronics and Information Technology, Indian Council of Agriculture Research, Indian Council of Medical Research, and these are the international funding agencies, list of international funding agencies. There are many. If you type in Google list of funding agencies like worldwide, you will get many funding agency, and you can go ahead and submit your proposal to international funding agency as well. But provided if you really want to have the international tap international funding agency, funding from international funding agency, you should have one investigator from the respective country. It will be better. Now I'm show you quickly within 5 minutes what kind of opportunities you will be having. This is open right now, fellowship for Indian citizen, Fulbright Nehru fellowship. Many of you might be knowing that, but I thought let me quickly tell you there are different options available in Fulbright. Like first one is Fulbright Nehru Master Fellowship. Our master's student can go there and do master for 1 to 2 years. Doctoral fellowship for 6 to 9 months. Fulbright Nehru Fellowship for academic and professional excellence. Here, teachers can apply from 4 months to 6 months. This is applicable for teachers. Fulbright Nehru Postdoctoral Research Fellowship, 8 to 24 months. This is for administrator only for 2 weeks, and you can have some joint activity as well. And these are the details of deadlines. You can see the deadlines. The last date of submission is July 15, but I'm sure due to this COVID-19 pandemic, they may extend the deadline as well. And these fellowships are not open as on today, but you can see, you can visit that respective website like Humboldt's International Fellowship for teachers as well as students, JSPS International Fellowship for teachers as well as students. There are many Australian fellowship for Indian teachers, Commonwealth Fellowship for UK, many for teachers. And apart from this, there are many countries, I would say many countries, they are having a bilateral tie-up with the Indian government of India. And if you visit DST website, ACRB website, after every week, I would say every alternate day rather we should visit, you will find 1 or 2 announcements. And in this bilateral program, of course, you can submit this proposal together. Like you need to have one co-investigator from the respective country. Let us say bilateral program between US and India. So you need to have one collaborator from US. You are one of the collaborator, investigator. You prepare the joint proposal, and then you can plan your visit to US maybe for up to 2 months. Your student, your colleague, similarly, you can invite the professor from US and student from US to your university or college for maybe for 1 month or 2 months, and the entire funding is going to be sponsored by the respective government. In summary, you must have seen there are a number of options available. So options are plenty, but if you really want to encash this, we need to be very, very innovative and proactive to tap those funding. If you are innovative and proactive, I'm sure you are going to tap those funding. And in summary, I'm going to stop here with a very wonderful quotation of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. The quotation is, when we dream alone, it is going to be dream only. When we dream alone, it's going to be dream only. However, when we dream together, it is no longer a dream. It is the beginning of new reality. And whenever you are talking about project formulation, it has to be a teamwork, because on your own, you see, like, it is always better to submit proposal, collaborative proposal. There should be one PI from one institution and other investigator. There could be two PI also, right? One PI from one institution, other PI from other institution. 50-50 contribution. Even you can ask funding to divert, bifurcate the funding also. 50% will go to your university or college, or 50% will go to your college or university of your co-investigator. So that also can be done. So it is always better to have the collaborative work, so that impact will be more, and you will be able to ensure the 100% result at the end of the project. With this, I would thanks you again for your patient listening.